Welcome to These Fertile Grounds, a podcast dedicated to planting the seeds that inspire women to pursue authentic, purposeful, and fulfilling careers. I am your host and career coach, Zainab Kahira. Zindzi Aya is a storyteller and medicine woman based in Maryland. She specializes in witnessing mamas as they birth their yes. Her message is simple. Whether birthing babies or businesses and everything in between, the process is the same. Your body is the blueprint. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Zindzi Aya. Thank you so much for joining me. So you all have already heard Zindzi's background, but this is Zindzi Aya, and I wanted to kind of give some context as to how I know her. So she was introduced to me by my sister Amira. You met Amira first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know you've worked with Aziza as well, but and Zindzi, we only had like a couple of interactions together, but
Right.
they were so transformational. And honestly, I want us to do it again because we did like a sister session with her, and it was really powerful. So mental note to me, I'm going to ask my sisters if they want to do another sister session with you because we really needed that at that time. And I'd like for us to revisit that. But anyway.
And it was rewarding and enriching to me too. I loved sitting with you and your sisters.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you handled us because we come in with power, like not like aggression power, but our family, the women in our family especially, are very strongly spirited women. And we come with a very strong spiritual energy. We're actually very protective of the people we let into our space. And so when we allow someone in and they are able to nurture, it's to me, I feel like it was divinely, a divine integration. So I'm rambling.
It's all welcome.
Thank you.
Everything is useful. Yeah.
Thank you. So I want to start by allowing you to, or giving you space, excuse me, to share your story where maybe I would love to hear some of your origins and, to how you got to where you are right now. So.
Absolutely. So when you say origins, I'm guessing you mean like where I came from and where my people from and all the things.
And then also like how that integrates into your career.
Absolutely. So I was born in DC, in the nation's capital.
In Chocolate City?
In Chocolate City, that is not so chocolate anymore, but
I know.
We are holding on. We are holding down the fort. Raised in Maryland, and I lovingly say that I was raised by a pack of she-wolves. I was raised by very fierce, full, and highly sensitive women who didn't have the language that we have today, and didn't have the space to inhabit their gifts and sit in their gifts in a capacity to call it a career the way that I am able to today, but who did so that I could sit in this space and use terminology like soft time and live in soft time because of the compressions that they were under, and who found ways to nurture, to midwife in the midst of it all. Like the things that I do feel like communal things. It doesn't, sometimes it doesn't, there's not this line of demarcation between like career, calling, and how I come for me. Like it's all one. And I think that that's probably the greatest joy. So I, lived in a home that was a bit of an underground railroad. Anyone who needed something came through my under my mother's care, stayed a while, was nurtured, went on and like flourished in their way. My grandmother cared for all the children in the neighborhood. Her sister was there for all of my grandmother, for my grandmother's birth. So I was raised by lots of women who nurtured, who cared, even when they didn't necessarily have access to the fullness of that kind of care and
Mm,
witnessing for themselves.
mm.
And I
Beautiful.
think that makes me a lot. A lot of that comes from them. All of it comes from them and God.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And so you mentioned, so how did you get into, well, you wear a lot of hats.
Hmm.
Can you kind of talk about the different hats that you wear in terms of the work that you do?
Absolutely. So I am a midwife,
Mm-hmm.
birth keeper. I am a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
So it began with being an open mic, a spoken word artist for a while, and then writing short stories for literary journals. And now I actually integrate storytelling into I like the mantle of medicine woman because I feel like it carries all the hats, right?
Mm,
You're medicine woman, you're there when the souls are coming in. You can be what I call like a spiritual or a life midwife. You're sitting with people as they detangle their lineage patterns and imprints and evolve them into what their vision is, birth a new yes for their family line.
mm-hmm.
Stories now are woven into very much into the way that I sit with people.
Yeah.
And the thing that I tell younger birth or newer birth workers, because I'm still a really, really a baby birth worker,
Mm-hmm.
are like, they say, what do I carry in my bag? And I'm like, you carry the stories of the birthers you've sat with and the feet of the women that you've learned from and you've
Mm-hmm.
been blessed to witness
Wow.
in this space. You carry that in the number of a wiser woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you carry. And so stories now, um, how I teach families about health and birth, it's a story. It's not facts. It's not statistics. It's like, okay, so this is what your body's telling you when you feel this feeling. And
Ooh.
I say I weave it as a story, like our bodies are telling us a story. This is not just a diagnosis. There's a story behind that. The story may be like, my when I come home, there is, I don't take care of me first. And then, there's this pressure built up and I'm not alleviating the pressure. I'm
Mm-hmm.
holding my bodily functions. I'm holding my feelings. I don't feel like there's space. And because of that space, all the lines and the pathways inside of me are squeezing. And then
Mm,
the flow, which is the blood, is the life energy, is pressing back and saying, give me a little bit of space. Just like I'm trying to press back and say, give me a little bit of space. Maybe if I allow myself that space, maybe blood pressure will come down, you know? So that's how the story is woven into the hats that I wear currently.
yeah. Wow. That was okay. We can finish now. I need a second to process. That's so what are some common challenges that women come to you with, like some of the stories that they carry when they're coming to
Mm,
you?
wow. That's such a beautiful question. Some of the stories, will I be like my mother? And the
Mm,
stories of their mothers. And that can go an array of ways. Am I going to be as good as she was? Am I going to hurt my child like she hurt me? Will I be like my partner or my husband's mother?
mhm,
Will I be good enough?
mhm,
Do I have enough?
mhm,
Whether it's material, emotional, spiritual, do I have enough to give in such a way that what I give comes out whole and complete, as
mm,
in the child? So that will come up maybe as worry about genetic presentations or autism or like
mhm,
anything that may come up. Will it hurt?
mm.
That is a story. The story around pain and the permission to feel all of it
Wow.
without labeling it as bad or wrong and without being managed
Mhm.
and mocked or critiqued or
Yeah,
threatened or pressured, like
or
that whole,
ignored.
or ignored, silenced, doubted. Um, because the path of birthing anything, right? I usually tell people, because I midwife in all the spaces, right? Whether you're birthing a baby, a business, or anything in between or beyond, the journey is the same. And the one story that I feel everyone carries is, am I enough?
Yeah.
Do I have enough? Do I know enough? And then even what the fullest of us feel like, and then when that point comes to birth it, will it be enough to nurture what I birth and for it to grow strong? And that navigating the internal resources with the external environment, and then the like omniternal energies and forces is honestly like the biggest, almost like the biggest saga.
Yeah.
That's always playing out through our bodies, our birthing, our families.
Yeah. So I want to take a turn a little bit because you mentioned external forces and um, something that and I've dealt with this. So I've experienced. I think I shared this with you. Late term pregnancy loss. I was 27 weeks when we found out, but I think the baby passed around 25 weeks. And one of the things that I was I had to learn how to reconcile was um, my experience working while pregnant and the amount of pressure that I was putting on myself. Um, and I definitely felt like there were times when I wasn't advocated for in my workspace. Um, Oddly enough, I found I hold a little grace for the people I worked with because I think in some capacity they weren't equipped, they didn't have the tools to support me. It's a very young space. I was only the second person in the office to actually be pregnant, the third, right? So those were some of the other dynamics, but I was still very much functioning um, mentally and emotionally as I wasn't pregnant when it came to work. And so a lot of shame, like, how come I can't get this? And I would, take naps. I would try to balance my time at work, but, to rest my body. But I was always just stressed out. And so I guess my question is, with do you refer to them as clients?
Yes.
Yeah, with your clients, is that something you've seen them having to balance work and the pressures of work and the effects it can have on their body when they're pregnant?
Yes. Yes. And before I go into that, like, I celebrate you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. It's part of my healing.
Yeah.
I've shared multiple times and I will continue to because it's very much how I am able to find peace. Because one of the things, just small tangent, is that when it happened, I had so many, like, I'm talking about immediate family members who said the same thing happened to me. And I didn't know.
And you didn't know.
And people don't, my mom experienced it. And she shared it with us, but aunts, like, yeah, and late term pregnancy loss too. And I was just like, not that I don't think I could have prepared myself, but I maybe wouldn't have felt so alone if I had shared, if someone had told me about it, before. And so, and I understand that part of them not sharing is because of their trauma, and just not wanting to relive it. Because many women, they just kind of keep going with their lives. So anyway, that's why I share. So thank you. But I want to
Well,
hear from you.
I celebrate you sharing
Mm,
because that is the underbelly of birth.
yeah.
It's the wholeness of birth. Actually, a dear sister midwife taught me, because I've had 4 children that are not earthside. So I appear as a motherless woman, but I am a mother. And I remind mothers, we birth all our babies. If you were once with life, even if that life has not been full term, you gave birth. That is how the life came forth.
Yeah.
And there's honor and there's reverence and
Yeah.
there's beauty and there's pain and there's responsibility. There's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And to connect it to what you initially asked about witnessing mothers, balance the intensity of the machinistic way
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
many career spaces with the
Mm-hmm.
softness and spaciousness that pregnancy often requires, especially to
Yes.
take root and to expand optimally,
Yeah.
has been one of the probably one it, and I'm going to be honest, it's one of the things that I'm still grappling with how to support
Yeah.
in a way that feels like I'm always asking in my prayers, like, did I do that right? Like, did I
Yeah.
do that? Like,
Yeah.
was that enough? Like,
Yeah.
will this be enough?
Mm-hmm.
Because there can be such a grind
Mm-hmm.
to perform and to produce.
Yeah.
And pregnancy is an unfolding. I think the where I find my where I find and the best gift I can give mothers is to point them to witness nature and creation, that every star isn't a star you see in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And every planet that isn't orbiting our sun right now.
Mm.
Everything, nature, every litter of puppies, all of them don't make it. Like, and that is the story of every other life forms.
Mm-hmm.
Like progeny, like of giving birth and recreating themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, often in our career lives, in our business worlds, in quote unquote incomplete things don't count.
Yeah.
And so we begin to internalize that in our personal
Oh my
body. And so
goodness.
we feel like this
Yeah.
doesn't count. And we discount
Mm-mm.
some of the most valuable experiences we'll ever have, and that our children need to hear and our sisters need to hear and our mothers need to know. We need to know and sit with women who know, not that I shouldn't cry because it happens. No, but who can sit with us with a knowing like, yes, I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this. We can talk about it if you want. We don't have to. We don't have to tip around it because this is life.
Yeah.
This too, well, I like to say, like, this too is life.
Yeah.
This too is birth, and this too is holy, in that this is a part of the whole
Yes.
of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in the career space,
Yeah.
it's not incomplete either.
Mm-mm.
There was a purpose, right? Of you working for that company or,
Mm-hmm.
doing that contract or whatever. And it's been fulfilled. Have received everything you were supposed to receive from it. Because I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times when we look at things as incomplete, we look at it as we can almost reframe it as a failure. We shouldn't, but
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we do, right? Well, I didn't finish
Mm-hmm.
this, right? And so, but it's the same thing with you're talking about, giving birth and, having children who are not earthside is that your your relationship isn't incomplete either.
Mm-mm.
Like you're not physically together, but I believe that spiritually we are together, and then eventually, because I believe in the afterlife, we will be together, again,
Mm-hmm.
So you said something I really wanted to when you mentioned about sometimes feeling like, did I give them enough when
Mm-hmm.
talking about how to navigate, I think, the pressures of working and holding a pregnancy. I wrote down the system because um, in the work that you're doing, it's not like you are battling one company and this one person, right? This is like a whole system that is designed
Mm-hmm.
not to be supportive of mothers, right? Not to be
Yes.
supportive of, of parents, even from, the parent that's not carrying the child. Like, they need to be present for their partner as well. They're dealing with stress as well. And we're just kind of like, 12 weeks. You give birth, come back in 12 weeks. There's 12 weeks is not enough. I
No.
had 16 weeks. Very fortunate in Canada, when you have a late term pregnancy, you can get leave for 16 weeks. And I still was not ready to come back,
Mm-mm.
you know? So imagine having a baby and then 3 months later, it's like, so yeah, my point is like the system is you, you are doing enough, is that, but you're also working against this machine that is created to, you know, not in our benefit.
You are so right.
Hmm.
A system that does not complement, um, quite frankly, the ones that help the system to stay in motion.
Yeah.
It does not, a system that does not
No,
support,
no, it does
that
not.
consumes and takes without giving anything back. Like it wants to know how much can you produce more people, but do it under these constraints. And
Hmm.
so the softness I offer mothers is to discover kind of like from inside their bodily system or their
Hmm.
spiritual systems, whichever one they can access the most. How do you give yourself grace and softness within the system that we
Hmm.
are in?
Yeah.
And I love when I am graced with supporting mamas who are in positions of leadership within the
Yeah.
system,
Yeah.
because it's often a softening they're not used to. They're used
Mm.
to being, especially if they're more type A, kind
Hmm.
of alpha, like, let's get it and it should be done. And then once they're sitting with these possibilities, which is a terminology a sister midwife gifted me for pregnancy, because we
Hmm.
don't know what the outcome will be, right? So she
Hmm.
calls it sitting with possibilities. They get to bring that softness to everyone who they support. I like to
Hmm.
call leaders, like, if they're great leaders, are great supporters.
Yeah.
And so they can give that grace when you witness another mother sitting in that space at any point in her pregnancy, birth, or afterwards. You can say, that's okay. Go ahead and finish that. Really, we can soften this timeline. Go be with your children. Go be with yourself, and we can come back and reconvene. Like, there are ways to soften and actually become more productive, more
Hmm.
easily. I call it being gently generative.
Mm.
That's the pace of possibility. The
Yeah.
pace of production burns out. The pace of possibility induces a gentle generativeness that proliferates like amazing beyond what because the system hasn't trusted that yet, beyond what we could imagine. But you can look at other countries' systems and see how they're generating and they're flourishing. And that's the proof that we don't have to like grind every grape to get the juice. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're lying well, in the US, are lying to themselves when they say that that's such a scarcity mindset. Like, you
Yes.
know, I wanted to go back to you a little bit.
Hmm.
In the work that you do,
Hmm.
how are you able to, because you're a person of service, right?
Yes.
And I'm also a person of service, someone who identifies as an empath.
Hmm.
And so um, I transfer and receive a lot of energy. I can imagine for you, you do the same. How do you show up for yourself in the work that you do?
Ooh, I love that question. I breathe often
Hmm.
and deeply and on purpose with
Hmm.
thought.
Hmm.
Because the pace of what I do is unpredictable and oftentimes not very schedulable.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So unlike people who are like, yeah, at this time you turn your phone off. I'm like, no, at 3 a.m. I've been called to answer those calls.
Hmm.
Um, But when I give myself permission to take at least a season where if someone is birthing in those seasons, I can't be the one who attends.
Mm.
There's at least, I'm like, the nature rests, and it's
Yeah.
way wiser and older than I will ever be, or even my kind, like humankind is.
Mm-hmm.
And even nature has a resting season.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's one of the ways I show up for myself. Like, I can walk with you through this. I can do all the schedulable things.
Yeah.
There's at least one season in the year, 1 3-month period, where I am not 100% on call.
Mm.
And I also take my born days and my mother's birth giving day as a holy day for myself. I am not on call. I have been in births on my birthday though,
Yeah.
but I have now worked it in. It's been over 10, almost 10 years. So I've worked it in, like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother's birthday, as I call it, an ancestral new year, which is in September. So I make these pockets of softness and celebration
Mm-hmm.
for myself and my family, because those are the things that build me up. And whenever I can, I go to bed early and I rise early, because the morning is like that. I feel like the energy received in the morning sustains me much more than the energy of like later
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
For someone listening who wants to get to that space where
Mm-hmm.
you are able to make time for yourself
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, um, how would you recommend they just get started?
Ooh. One, make it a playful. We have to-do lists.
Mm-hmm.
I usually like to reverse engineer that and say, make a to don't list and put something fun in that pocket. So make the
Writes that
list.
down.
And I like to play a lot, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
you got to play. If you're
Yeah.
in these spaces,
Yeah. You do. You do.
you
Yeah.
have to play, you have to laugh. So, and after you make the list, I like to tear it up, ball them up, put them in a jar. I actually have my jar right here. I'm going to show you all. It was a candle. Now it's a
Wow.
jar, right?
Uh-huh.
And inside are all the like delights and reminders. You pick one, right?
Uh-huh.
And so on your to don't, you
Uh-huh.
have, and this is what I will do instead. And let that be the thing that nurtures you.
Wow. So giving an example,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's um my usual to do is get up in the morning and get on my phone, right?
Right.
So my to don't will be get up in the morning and just focus on my breathing and allowing my body to wake up through my
Mm-hmm.
breath. Is that a good example?
That's a great example.
Okay.
And if it's something like that, put a reminder where your phone would normally be, because your body remembers. So when
Yeah.
your body goes to reach for the phone, it touches the thing.
Ooh, that's good.
So it could be a cup of tea, in one of those thermoses that hold the heat. So it's still
Hmm.
warm in the morning.
Yeah.
It could be a glass of water with a little note taped on it, like, you're beautiful. Say this 10
Mm.
times in the mirror. Or you know what I mean?
Mm.
And I invite women to start small and start soft and start slow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one. That is a big one.
Yeah.
Small. Yeah.
Just like
Yeah. Hmm.
every seed on the earth, that every mighty oak started small, started soft, started slowly.
Mm.
Because when the softening and the emerging becomes something another to do,
Mm-hmm.
now the effort and the stress comes in, and the shame and the blame and the guilt, and I didn't, and I shoulda, and all that starts.
Mm.
But if it's soft and small, it's
I
great.
love that you use that and that you use those words just like a seed starting soft because
Mhm.
that was I'm just receiving what you said because I refer to myself as a seed planter.
Mm.
And so, but I am someone that starts soft. I wholeheartedly believe that because
Mhm.
I believe that human beings have been conditioned to be very hard on themselves.
Yes.
And so, and that was the vision for this podcast and why I called it Fertile Grounds, because there is, uh, when when the soil is fertile, it's also very soft too, right? It's moisturized. It has to be able to uh, nurture the seed, right? And
Mhm.
so I just love that you use those words. That's so beautiful. Oh, we could go on and on and on.
We
Thank you.
could. That was so yummy. I love the way you yes, fertile grounds.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
that's it. That's it. And I'll be honest with you, I was hesitant to use the word fertile.
Mm.
I guess for me it was like I was worried would um some people be turned off from it, because as someone who has struggled with having a child on this
Mm.
earth, uh the word of fertility can have some
Mm.
pain to it. But
Mhm.
believe it or not, Amira, my sister Amira, was like, no, that's actually the right word, because it allows you to expand beyond just your fertility. It's
Ooh.
about, you know, as creatures of this earth and how we continue to nurture each other, right? And I was like, girl, you're so smart.
She's so brilliant.
Yes, she
Amira is
is.
so brilliant
She
and
is smart.
so
She's
vast.
literally the smartest person in our family. She is. She is. She is so smart. Just a beautiful, beautiful soul. So
And humble.
yeah.
Like, like vast in her intelligence. May I offer something to what you shared that she shared with you?
Yeah.
I offer, because you're right, fertility can have a sting
Hmm.
when we connect it to producing a certain outcome. I offer to mothers, and I've had to offer it to myself a lot,
Yeah.
that fertility is the capacity of life to unfold as it will.
Mm,
And we each hold the capacity for life to unfold as it will.
mm.
Um,
Fertility is that's so true. That is
yeah.
so true.
And
Thank you so
usually, as we
much.
soften around that unexpectedly, what we've most yearned for comes to be.
I want to end because I want to talk to you about me.
You're like, so the rest of this is going to be off the record?
So we're about to have a one-on-one conversation. Before we close out, one I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to give you, was there anything else you wanted to just share, since we have the space here, that you just wanted to leave with?
Mm. Nothing is wasted in the garden of life.
Mm,
It all matters and it all counts, and we have permission to matter all of our moments.
I love that. That's beautiful. Where can people find you? Any socials you want to share, website, or any platform you use that's best for people to get in touch with you?
So I'm doing a new experiment
Okay.
of being soft and in real time more.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be reached through email,
Good. Yeah.
which is
Okay.
Zindzi,
Uh-huh.
my name spelling Zindzi
Uh-huh.
at wombandword.com.
Womanword.com. Okay, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
make sure to put that also in the show notes as well.
Yes.
I love that you're doing that, and that's a protection too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very much protection. Well, thank you,
Yes.
Zinzi. I definitely, well, as we were talking, I was like, well, she's gonna have to come back, because
I'd love to.
I mean, we could just there's so much we could talk about in terms of just a relationship of working women,
Yes.
and just self-care, not even in the realm of giving of being pregnant, and so we
Mm-hmm.
definitely will we will revisit that conversation. But I appreciate you for joining me today, and thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Everyone have a good day.